is the regular meeting of the Wyoming Board of Education for January. We began earlier because we then went into executive session. We're out of executive session at this point. So we are ready for recognition of the public. Listed in our agenda tonight is our updated policy 0169.1. If you don't mind, I'm going to read it since there are a couple new things in there. Wyoming City School District regular Board of Education meetings are not public meetings, but meetings held in public. However, the board encourages and appreciates citizen interest in meetings of the board. This place in the agenda is especially set aside to hear comments from our visitors. The speaker should give his or her name and address prior to beginning his or her remarks. Anyone who is a Wyoming resident or a Wyoming City School employee or a district business owner may participate during the designated public participation portion of our meeting. In order for the board to fulfill its obligation to complete the planned agenda in an effective and efficient fashion, it may be necessary to allow a maximum of 30 minutes of public participation to be permitted at each meeting. Each statement made by a participant shall be limited to 3 minutes duration unless extended by the presiding officer. Public commentary on specific personnel matters is not permitted. So we have two speakers this evening. I am going to make an adaptation here in that since we are going to be on YouTube, rather than stating your full name and address to the general public, we have that in our minutes. So just your name is fine. And our first on our list is Wendy Dorn. If you'd like to come up over there.
Good evening to everybody here, members of the board, Mr. Weber, Dr. Whiteley, anybody else I'm missing. My name is Wendy Dorn. I'm the mother of a Wyoming high school graduate who's now in his sophomore year of college and a current Wyoming high school senior. I wanted to speak tonight in support of our district's music program. Both of my sons have benefited in enormous ways from being able to take music classes offered by the school starting in the primary years. Sam started playing cello in the 4th grade at Elm School. He moved on to Sinfonia and Philharmonia in high school, and he's continued with his cello lessons at the college level. He was one of 11 students invited to play this past weekend in his college's music department recital, and he was the only cellist. Spencer started middle school band on trumpet, but he quickly moved to percussion, becoming an active member of the Wyoming Marching Cowboys in the drum line and drum major during his senior year. Although no one else in my family is a musician, we all do have a deep appreciation for music, as well as for all of the performing arts. It has regularly astounded and delighted me that my kids have turned into bona fide musicians. And there's no doubt in my mind that that is a result of the strength of the music instruction that they have received here in the district from dedicated, hardworking, and passionate teachers. Playing their instruments has brought them joy, a sense of belonging in their respective ensembles, and a means of expression. It has helped them cope with difficult emotions, which has been especially crucial these past 2 years during the pandemic. As the district's music curriculum is now expanding, I urge you to consider increasing the number of music faculty in your long-range plan, so all of the district students can continue to benefit, and the current faculty can have relief from being overburdened. We don't want our talented and dedicated music teachers to be stretched too thin or burn out too soon. Thank you so much for the music curriculum you have supported and developed that has brought us to this point today. I've been very grateful to be a part of this district for music and the arts are held in such high regard. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, Clarissa Benj.
Good evening. My name is Clarissa Benj. I am the current president of the Wyoming School Music Association. I have met many of you, but not all. So since I emailed you all a letter today regarding staffing needs in music classes, I really just wanted to introduce myself, put a face with a name for you guys, and to thank you in advance for considering the issues that we raised in our letter. One of WSMA's roles is to advocate for music in our schools. And because you've earned such respect from us as Board of Education members and administrators, we are bringing this to your attention with the hopes that we can properly staff all of our music classes. And brief, and I promise this will be brief, so it is. Brief side note, we often see many of you at WSMA's Winter Music Festival, and we are postponing that, but not canceling it, to give us a little bit of a healthier distance from Omicron, hopefully, but we will get to the new date. It will be coming soon, but thank you in advance again.
All right, thank you. All right, thank you very much. I think we always appreciate the information we get from our community and especially our commitment to our music program. Thank you. I'm going to move on to board committee reports. The Finance Committee has not met, so I'm going to move right on to Citizens Advisory.
Just real quick, we normally do meet before the meeting, as you know, since you're in the committee, but our
Correct.
meeting is actually next Monday at 3:30. It's just a scheduling conflict. So we're just going to meet next Monday instead of this Monday. Thank you.
Thank you. And Citizens Advisory has already met this month. If you would like to bring us up to date.
I'll just to start. We met virtually on the 11th. So as you know, then we do the Board of Education update, a superintendent's update to the team, and then everyone breaks off into their rooms. And in that case, typically, Ilya and myself will not be there when we're not in person. But I know Tim's got more to say about that since you kind of popped into some of the rooms.
Yeah, sure. Well, just really similar to what you shared, Rhonda was there as a special guest to provide a financial update. No,
It
that's
was
good.
riveting.
Very important.
She just wanted to wait so that I could present that part, which is fine. Which is fine. And it's just an important, this group of Citizens Advisory Committee members. It's important to make sure that we're sharing information at hand that's when it's timely, and that was pretty timely. So Rhonda, thanks for doing that. And we really wanted to make sure that our teams had time to work with their individual groups. Carving out time for them to do this important work is really, really important. Our first presentation will be coming up in March. And so I believe that board meeting is March 28th. Maybe we should check that. Yes, it just flew out. March meeting, exactly.
Right.
And that will be our bullying group. And they're
Okay.
working on best practices regarding anti-bullying practices that schools can employ. We also have a primary facilities team again, and a standards-based grading practices team specifically for primary that are doing the work, and those will come in April and May.
It's a quick question on for the CAC presentation. Are we giving the groups time limits on how long the presentations need to be?
We'll be working through that with them, and part of the process that they're utilizing is to present to CAC during that CAC meeting ahead. And so in March, the bullying group will present to the CAC during their March meeting in the first second week of March, and then we'll give feedback to the team and help them be prepared for that board conversation.
I don't know what we've looked at in the past. I do think it's valuable to help them understand, like, the presentation portion is a certain part of it, and the discussion portion is also included, so that we get to that valuable part of the questions and understanding, in addition to just the presentation portion of it.
And then I find that what we're doing my second year on it, but as you all know, since you served on it, I've been part of it since community members rotate, just to have that ongoing conversation of getting information, but that doesn't always mean that you're able to take action on all of that right away, so that it's information gathering and the start for a great discussion, and that sometimes you can do the actions or recommendations, but not always. So I think that's always an ongoing conversation, and it's been a great group to kind of get to know too, and just listen to their insights on the discussions.
So that's good, thank you. Okay, superintendent committee or liaison reports. We'll start with the belonging committee. They've had a meeting.
Well, our superintendent's belonging committee has a meeting scheduled next week. We'll be meeting on the 28th. Yes,
Is it 28?
Yes.
It's this week.
I'm sorry, this Friday. Yes, the 28th. So we're meeting on the 28th, and our plan is to really look through the feedback that was received during the belonging community conversation. And what we're going to be doing is going through that feedback, seeing which themes are starting to rise to the surface, and then talking about how do we continue to formulate actions within those themes and better communicate those themes to our entire school community. So that'll be the topic of conversation for our subcommittee.
All right, thank you. Does anyone want to report on community engagement in the last month?
Let me just say that I don't go to the school foundation meeting, so I'm gonna take your. It's really fun to-
No, we can
Okay.
share.
I was just saying, since it's the online fundraiser is happening now for Wyoming School Foundation, that the blue, white, and local is what they changed it to, right? So that the online auction is happening now, 21st through 28th. And the dinner orders already had to be in, but that's on the 29th. And just kind of a reminder to people, I wasn't able to do the dinner perhaps, so that you can always be donating to School Foundation or WSMA or any of our partners, PSA. It's just always kind of a good reminder when there are different events coming up, I think, for all of these community support organizations to remember that that's an ongoing opportunity for us.
I think I'd say additional to that, it was planned that it would be in person this year, and as Omicron kind of got to the point, it was an adjustment, audible. I think the team has done a really nice job pivoting and sort of getting information and perspective, but also doing some things with private or additional sponsorships, so that the money that, is generated from this ahead of goal, so far. So just want to request that folks continue to support this and engage and participate with Wyoming School Foundation. Blue, white, and local. I was in brew.
I did
Okay.
too. I had to
Yeah.
sum it up.
We used to be blue, white, and brew.
Yeah, but this is not the brew portion, right? Which just kind of reminded me, it's not as much community engagement. It is in the sense, I guess, for PSA, just a reminder that the directory has shifted, that you could get that online. If you are a member, that you could get it in print, which I know they were passing out, but I needed a little reminder to pull up the toolkit app too, so that for community engagement purposes, I know people are looking for each other a lot, and that's out there, and that they also have other ways that they're looking to support. So online. So those are my.
I'll speak more about this too in the end. Just wanting to make sure people understand that we have opportunities for community feedback for strategic planning. And so those were to be this week. We shifted them back to February 2nd and 3rd. So we've communicated those. They'll be coming out of my superintendent's update also. We're asking folks to RSVP to that, just so that we have a sound understanding of how many people to expect, and we can provide the right facility for those conversations. But feedback regarding strategic planning is pretty critical, and we're excited about having those opportunities.
Is the format for that going to be similar to the belonging when we had back in November?
Yeah, and I think what we'll be looking at is we'll be looking at some of the feedback that we've already received through the survey, and then we'll dig a little bit deeper on some of those topics that have risen to the surface on the survey.
But what we're really looking for is a definitive idea of what people think of Wyoming City Schools, what they want to see, what kind of future they're looking for. And that's what a strategic plan does. And has a nice broad mission statement, but then a focus for the next few years. So.
And a question that really comes to the surface is, what does success look like, and how do we define success? And so that'll be a big part of that conversation.
And what choices are we needing to make in order to get to a sustainable and affordable success that focuses on the things we see as important? And so I'm thankful the questions in there look at what are the things that make Wyoming strong and wonderful today, as well as what are things that people see as important as we evolve into ever-changing kind of landscapes and that type of thing. And so it's important to talk about music and art and all the things that we get in participation, people representing what those interests are, because strategy comes down to what things you're choosing to do, realizing that that means there's some things you're not going to be able to do, not everything, to the same measure, at the same extent, all the time. And so that's why the conversation and the feedback is so important.
Thank you. The facility committee has an upcoming meeting, but no report, correct?
February 8th is the next meeting.
Okay.
A lot
Planning,
to say after that.
planning and goal setting does not have a report. Policy does not have a report. Student achievement. There was a DLT meeting.
Oh, you know, Tim,
You got it.
Amelia can say even more about it.
You should
I'm gonna
always
read
go
all the
first.
notes. We met on the 20th, and I feel like I say this each time. I love this committee in the sense that it is great to hear teachers and administrators and just talk about the things that they're working on, both day to day and for us. I mean, I took copious notes, but it's talking about professional growth data, and then hearing people talk about evaluation data and trends, and then feedback just on what that looks like for them on a day-to-day. Looking at the calendars and what, you know, great questions being asked of professional development days, and that you get great feedback, and Sandy's always good at talking about what teachers are looking for, different professional development planning. It was just very great conversation. I think I started taking notes, and for me, that's my big picture view of it, is trying to be a little bit more of an observer and pushing us for sometimes to listen to what you all are working on and how that goes. So that's my portion of it.
A quick thought as it goes to Tim is part of the discussion was about how do you leverage the professional development days, and how do you have enough time for the teachers and others who are trying to take in data, leverage it, understand how to best use it, to spend some time sort of preparing for that and supported in doing that very well consistently. And so not asking for higher levels of 7 things without providing some additional time to really process through that and do that very well. So
Yeah.
I was encouraged to hear that's part of the discussion.
Yeah, and how that helps students and families. Just, I think you all are very good at talking about all the stakeholders of what that looks like, and
Mhm.
why that's important. I guess not just to have it,
Right.
to have it
Right,
with
and-
purpose.
Last thing I had before we get to Tim,
Mhm.
I was also encouraged by this conversation and about how teachers in their engagement with students, whether it's on looking at math data or other points of perspective, really, we have the opportunity to help support them in doing those conversations in a way that has every student in our district have an experience of being seen, heard, understood, valued, and constructively challenged to be their best. And so we're talking about what does it look like and how do we do that, but that conversation about this being an opportunity for all of our diverse children, the ones who like music and the ones who do sports and the ones who are, you know, kind of quieter and don't talk as much, or what have you, just to have those moments where they're known and they're seen and they know that that's the way, that's what their experience is in our district. And in some ways, it connects with what belonging and inclusion is, because all of our students deserve that. I think interested, for that, and just think about how you support teachers in doing that consistently well.
And I was just gonna speak to that same piece of conversation. I thought it was very helpful to think about looking at these great conversations between our staff members and our students, and how can we look at those through the lens of wellness and taking care of our students along the way as we work to be better and better each day. Very helpful as part of that conversation. We've actually reached out to some of the individuals who are planning for that professional development to make sure that message is carried out during the day.
All right, thank you. The Board of Education report. We have a second reading of policy 5111, eligibility of resident, non-resident students. We went over this last month. Unless there are any further comments, all right, then may I have a motion to approve that policy?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second?
May I have a roll call?
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Mrs. G,
Yes.
Mrs. Zoller,
Yes.
Mr. Buckner,
Yes.
thank you.
All right, and now we have the treasurer's report.
Thanks, Jeannie. Item A, recommend approval of the minutes from the December 13th regular meeting and the January 4th organizational meeting. Item B, approve the statement of revenues and expenditures for month ending December 31st. Item C, accept with appreciation the donations listed on the agenda. Item D, the appropriation adjustments for the month of January. Item E is a request for use of Part B funds for construction. I'd like to just take a minute and explain that when those other items are routine, but this item E is not a routine item. We received, we've talked about this in a number of meetings. We've received some federal COVID relief money, and we've talked about that along the way. We received a very specific allocation, recent allocation of about $95,000, specific, required to be spent on specific special education opportunities. And so we would like to use a part of that for construction. And this would be a specific program at our high school for some of our cross-categorical students. And so because we don't normally use federal special education funding for construction, there is an approval process required by the board and then some paperwork that we have to send to ODE. But this is a great use of one-time money to accomplish this goal for these specific population of students that have this need at our high school. So we're excited to be able to use these funds for something that we've been talking about for a couple years now.
Which is good, because you showed us that space for facilities committee, right, when we did
Yeah.
that tour, over the summer. So just to picture it and know that you were talking about that, and to have that opportunity to be able to do it.
What's it gonna be, kind of, like, what's the,
It's going to be a kitchen and a bathroom.
oh,
Yeah, so working to give those students an opportunity to participate in some activities that are really important to the next step of their lives when they graduate. Something that we don't have the space to do now.
that's great.
So excited about that opportunity. So this is the first step in the process, getting some estimates at some point. Depending on the cost of that, there might be some bidding information that comes to you for approval, but Jan is working through that information. This is just the first step that we have to submit the request, or really the acknowledgement to ODE that we're spending a portion of these funds on construction, because it's not something that we normally do.
Right.
Is there a time limit on spending of this money?
I think all of it is through the year 23.
Okay.
So I'd have to check that specific.
Much like the
I don't
others.
think that allocation was different, but to be honest, we planned to spend it so quickly. I wasn't really worried about what the deadline was.
It will happen.
But I probably should double check just to make sure. It's not 22. It would be longer, not shorter.
Right,
Yes, to answer your question. Yeah,
Good.
yeah.
Thanks.
And item F is approval of the report, please.
Yes, may I have a motion to approve the treasurer's report?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second,
Roll call, please.
Mrs. G?
Yes.
Mrs. Zoller?
Yes.
Mr. Buckner?
yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Thank you.
Superintendent's report.
All right, thank you. We just have some personnel items today. Number one is a recommendation to approve resignations for the purpose of retirement. And so I will say Mary Ellen Nickel and Laura Rudin, both working at the high school. We are super excited for them, very sad to see them go. They connect with people, they connect with students, they connect with adults. They do a great job within their roles, and they will certainly be missed. But again, excited for them. Number two, we do have resignations, recommendation to approve resignations from other staff members. Number three, recommendation to approve a primary personnel change. And what this does is it puts Patty Jervis in the role of a principal's administrative assistant. Number four is a recommendation to approve unpaid leave requests for these individuals. Number five, recommendation to approve a non-athletic supplemental contract, and this is for the World Language Department chair. Number six is recommendation to approve the middle school color guard flex position. Nikki DeWitt will be taking that role. Number seven is recommendation to approve a new van driver that would allow Donna Wormack to serve in that role when needed. And number eight is a recommendation to approve middle school math camp stipends for these individuals. And so these individuals would support specific needs of students with math intervention needs. And so this is another example of how COVID relief funds are being used to support students that have very specific needs. And math has come up as a conversation where we need to make sure that we are being deliberate with some of these supports, and that's what this is here to do.
Great. This camp would take place this coming summer?
Actually, it's
Taking
going
place this
in the
week.
spring.
Oh,
But
Yeah.
yeah, it's
All right.
actually starting this week. It goes on Tuesdays and Thursdays, an hour each day, per grade level. So there's 2 staff members per grade level.
Great.
Oh, maybe the semantics, isn't it?
What do you say?
The semantics.
It's a
Camp.
camp.
Yeah.
Or
Oh, right,
After
right,
school
That's
camp.
right.
very
Yes,
After
yes,
school camp.
Yes.
right.
Yes.
After school.
Yep.
Yes. It
All right.
sounds super fun.
Right, exactly.
Math is super fun.
Yes, okay.
May I have a motion to approve the superintendent's report?
So moved.
So I'll second. May I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Zoller?
Yes,
Mr. Buckner?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Mrs. G?
Yes.
thank you. All right, back to the superintendent for your update.
Okay, just have three items, just wanted to touch on real briefly. The first of which is strategic planning. We talked about that a little bit. We are excited to continue the process of planning the future for our students over the next 3 to 5 years. Again, we've had great feedback from staff members, community members, families with regard to the survey, and now we're excited to open that up to face-to-face community feedback sessions. Again, February 2nd and 3rd, 7 p.m. We are holding a session for staff on the 3rd at 4 o'clock, I believe. And then we are working to dedicate time to our high school students during flex time, where we can also think about strategic planning. We are looking for ways to open up conversations at the primary school and the middle school. I don't have those solidified yet, but we're working to make sure that we're opening that up. So from, not sure what that was. From
My computer wants software update. Sorry about
okay,
that.
no, that's okay. That's okay.
The owl will continue to announce that, I'm afraid.
If people want more information on that, Tim, I know you sent emails, but that's also on the website, isn't it? I feel like Susie put it up.
The strategic
The
plan.
strategic plan.
Yeah,
all those
and we are
opportunities for
pushing
people.
out the
Yeah.
community conversation like that,
Yes.
and the RSVPs and all of that
Okay.
stuff. There'll be more reminders going out.
Oh, yeah.
And in the coming days, I'll make sure I have that as part of my update.
Yep.
We'll have a link to that. Again, we're asking for people to RSVP so that we can make sure we're setting the stage right for those conversations.
And for this community plan, there's also a committee too, right?
Yes, so we have a design team,
Yeah.
and the design team is the group that's really, it's created by staff members, administrators. We're looking through all of that feedback. That's why the feedback. Plan around. And that's a process that begins the night before or afternoon before and picks up very early in the morning, right? Yes. So again, we do see some good news. Last week, we saw some things improving. We saw the number of COVID cases in our district improve slightly. We went from 17 on Tuesday to 3 to 6 to 4. Those are entire district numbers. And the 2 weeks before were much higher than that. And so we're seeing some good news on that end. Attendance, we have had pretty strong attendance, but our attendance continues to improve, especially in the last few days of last week. We were encouraged by that. And then the number of unfilled staff positions was I'll say slightly improved, but that's still a challenge. It is always a challenge, and it's always unique to what roles that are not filled. And we have to be creative every single day to do that. And I would say our entire staff, everyone in the district has gone above and beyond to do what they can do to keep our schools running, to keep a place for our students to come to each and every day. And it's tough to do. As you can see, all the districts that weren't able to do that over the course of the last 2 to 3 weeks. And so I'm just really proud of what's going on here. And it's still the idea of having all hands on deck to make sure that we do whatever we can to support kiddos. So hopeful that things continue to improve and it's a little bit easier on the COVID front, on the pandemic front, but that's where we are right now.
I think it's been great. The new way that you're sharing information about COVID on the one email, the daily things.
Yeah.
It makes it a lot more simple to see.
Sure.
Great pivot on that. So
Yeah. And Susie and Ashley have done a great job with keeping up with that, and those in the buildings too, making sure that information gets to where it needs to be, and then we can send that out to community members. Any other questions? Okay.
No, thank you.
Then my last item is it's a special month. It's board recognition month. And yes, that's right. So I want to pause just for a second, more than a second, to say thank you to you as our board members for the incredible work that you do every single day. It's not a position that you come to a meeting twice a month and then you forget about it. I know you're connected to what happens in this district. I know it makes you laugh, doesn't it? You're connected to this district every single day. We talk often about leadership and the fact that leadership matters. And I think our entire district is very blessed to have 5 board members who are so passionate about what happens in this district for kids and for staff and for families in our entire school community. And so we cannot thank you enough for investing as much as you do in Wyoming City Schools, and we're happy you're here.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
It's a pleasure to serve.
We deeply appreciate that you all threw your hat into a ring and ran for office because you had not only a passion for education, but also a heart to serve your community. And we feel that, as you know, as a leadership team, we feel your passion for education and we feel your heart for service in the community. And we thank you for that. You all learn, you engage, you ask tough questions of us that make us better. And we absolutely value that. You get to work on super fun issues like student achievement, and you have to work on difficult things like pandemics and school safety. And it runs the gamut. And so we know that, and we thank you for dedicating, we know, a portion of your life to this work. So thank you.
My allergies are gonna start acting up.
I know.
And with that, we have a tiny gift.
A tiny gift,
Tiny gift.
and this was created in our very own Dan Jones Center for Research and Innovation.
Wow, the rip.
Yes.
I just want to say it is an honor to serve with all of you, but also like as the administrators too, and we're missing our Kara here tonight too. So just a very special group to be with.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that's fun.
This is laser engraved, huh?
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
I was missing to put a fake piece of cheese on it, so you would know it was a cheese plate.
Oh, yeah.
Well, she was gonna get real cheese, I wasn't sure how long this meeting was gonna be, so I thought maybe.
Hey, thanks, because we can't have cheese, so I don't want to change it.
Put whatever you like on it.
Yes, that's right. Whatever you want.
It's a cookie plate.
It's a cookie plate.
You all, that's,
Tiny gift that acknowledges how the incredible hard work that you all do for this
Thank you.
district.
thank you, thank you.
Well, having been to that training up in Columbus to see the other district, it really just made me feel really great about Wyoming and the staff and the board and the kids and the teachers, just everybody. It's like, we really have a special thing here. Like, we may not see it because we're busy like making ourselves even better. But like you have to like go away and come back and see what we've got going on here. It's really special.
One thing I wanted to mention before we leave, and I didn't prepare this, so I don't want it to be long. On Friday, the 14th of January, our community, was just rallied, not just that day, but every moment from January 1st, when we found out about Thomas passing away. It just is something phenomenal and overwhelming to be in this space where you saw the different parts of our community, those people who were able to be there that day, those who weren't, what they communicated by their presence, but also other things in terms of continued support for his family and that kind of thing. And we talk a lot about social and emotional learning and all the different realities of our district. And, just a moment where you're in the room, to your point, Justin, is like, this community is meaningful. To be a part of this is a big deal, and it matters in those moments, in an acute way, but every day, you know what I mean? And so that's why when we talk about how teachers are engaging with students, how they feel that and know that and experience it, so that they never forget it, so that they never have moments where they wonder if they can do it or if they can get to tomorrow. And I'm interested as we go into months down the road, how do we continue to just stay in this conversation and proactively engage in ways that are just in touch with people and just supporting as best we can all of our kids and all of our administrators and teachers, because there's a lot going on every single day still, trying to figure out how to navigate this. And it's important to get a chance to do this with you, but also for our community to do, this journey together. So thank you, Wyoming, for what you did in support of both Thomas and his family.
Thank you. On that note, I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
So move.
And a second? Second. And a roll call.
Mr. Buckner,
Yes.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Mrs. G,
Yes.
Mrs. Sullivan.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you all for